And we are live. We are live on Twitch, we're live on Discord, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Media.network because we are obviously Solana centered. And welcome, Michelle from Min Finance. I'm super happy to have you again in the Grape stage and meet again, even if it's online. We had an amazing time in Lisbon, and yeah, looking forward to what you're planning.
Right on, right on. Thank you very much for having us here. Super ecstatic, and it's always fun to come here and join the Grape Community.
You've been working non-stop since I saw you in Lisbon. I know you've announced all the amazing funding partners that you've managed to gather. You need to tell me about that. Who are the ones that are supporting you? But before we get into the details, I want you to just introduce yourself. Give us a TLDR about Mean Finance for those that didn't come prepared, and tell us a little bit about your story. How did you end up in Solana? You know, it's quite deep into the risk layers. Like you've gone through Bitcoin, crypto, and other risky products to end up here and start building here. So tell us about you.
Yeah. So yeah, my name is Michelle, and I'm one of the co-founders of MeanDAO. And MeanDAO is first of all a DAO. It's a product DAO. It's a protocol DAO, and we have two products. One is called MeanFi, and the other one is Mean Protocol. MeanFi has a nice looking UI, and it's basically a Web3 app that facilitates everyday banking workflows for retail banking users and retail investors. And it aims to be a bit of a bridge between traditional finance and DeFi, in that we're attacking the problem by really starting with looking and feeling like a regular good old bank, and not trying to sell the idea that people are using a bank that is on the blockchain or on crypto or none of that stuff, right? So it's like all the workflows look very familiar to what you would be used to using on your good old Chase account or HSBC account or Santander account, or it doesn't matter. All the workflows are somewhat similar to that. They just happen to be powered behind the scenes by Solana, right? And it's kind of like if you use any normal application, like you don't hear Facebook saying, "Oh, we are built on PHP." Like nobody says that, right? So like you just have a good application, and you let users go through the workflows that they actually want. We're solving a couple of big problems with MeanFi, and in particular those everyday banking workflows. For example, being able to schedule money. Like if I wanted to send you um, right now $100, it's very easy to do it from one wallet to another. But if I wanted to schedule $100 so that you receive that $100 next week, there's almost no applications on DeFi that support that, or that even think about that as a very important workflow. We are looking at that as a very important workflow. That is something that every single person that has a bank account has done. They do it regularly. And when we're trying to sell the idea that DeFi is the future of finance, but we cannot even fulfill that very simple workflow that they do every single day on a normal bank, it kind of like it sets a disconnect between people that are in traditional finance and people in DeFi. So that's what we're trying to bridge that gap. And whether it's scheduling payments into the future, or doing decentralized dollar cost average, or doing payroll, or being able to have subscriptions or invoices, or manage treasuries, any of those workflows that are offered by a traditional bank is what we're basically powering through MeanFi. And a lot of those things are made possible because of the tech that we have behind Mean Protocol. And Mean Protocol doesn't have a UI, doesn't have a GUI. It's not a Web3 app. It's basically three interoperable on-chain smart contracts that are deployed on Solana. And the kind of like the primary actor there is the Moneystreaming program. And that's what powers a lot of the things that we're able to do on MeanFi, because it's basically an automation layer and a communication layer for payment infrastructure in Solana. So that's about us, the project, MeanFi, Mean Protocol, MeanDAO, like the whole thing.
I'm gonna ask specific questions about connecting all these beautiful things, the MeanDAO and what is the power and how it governs the protocol, etc., etc. But before we go there, and when we talk about all the functionalities that you're starting with, because I assume it's 3 smart contracts, it's gonna be more. I'm pretty sure.
The fourth is being deployed today, actually.
Yeah, exactly. But did you try to build this somewhere else? Is this or did you come straight to Solana and decided that this is the place where what you're building is missing, or like how did you approach that? How did you come here?
Good. So I think that probably it's a little bit better if there's some background to the story. This is not my first rodeo in general. Like as an entrepreneur, I all the way back in 2006, I founded a company and we sold to private equity in 2011. I made some good money there. Nothing to do with crypto. It was all like very boring, business to government type of things. ERP, for anybody that knows what that means. So ERP in the recreation management and asset management space. So we sold that to private equity in 2011, and right then and there, I thought, oh, I'm going to take a year off to like rethink. And a month later, I was like just itching to do something new at that time. So Bitcoin was the thing that kind of bit me, and I fell in love with it. And I created a company that essentially was doing instant issuance gift cards that were settled on the Bitcoin network at the time. 3 years later, we sold that to Docomo, which is a telco in Asia. And off I went into the next one. So I've been in the crypto space for a long time now. My previous venture, which is kind of like where all the genesis to this one came about, we're doing it was in crypto too, but in a centralized way. So we were not a DeFi project. We were simply a startup company that was doing real estate investment analysis and settling escrow for real estate transactions using crypto. So essentially, anybody that wanted to deploy crypto capital into American real estate, we would take that. We would do all their KYC, AML. We will handle the escrow account, or we will basically allow you to, if you come with crypto, to buy commercial and residential real estate in the U.S. I absolutely hated the idea of having to deal with all of the regulatory process around that. Everything that had to do with doing the KYC, the AML, all of the interactions with government was pretty like naughty and not welcome in general for me. I just dislike that kind of work in general. And one of the things that late last year in 2020, I wanted to get a lot more people on our employee base, give them the option to get paid using crypto. And I started to look for solutions for that. I was the CEO of that company at the time, and as I looked for solutions, the things that I was finding were either like a centralized company and a custody solution. I needed to send them my payroll funds to some central company that was holding onto my keys, and then they will do the distribution to those salaries. And the only solution that I found that was truly permissionless and on a DeFi fashion that made sense was a company or a protocol on Ethereum called Solflare. Now, when we got to Solflare and we started to kind of like look for that solution, even late last year, the gas fees were still ridiculous. And if you're going to be paying $1,000 to someone, it doesn't really make sense for that person to have to pay $50 to just claim their salary, because that basically means that you're giving, like, they're taking a discount on their salary just for the fact that they're receiving it on Ethereum. So like things kind of like started to break a little bit apart, from the get-go, because of the challenge of, okay, well, I want to pay the salaries, but then that means I'm paying a lot more. That doesn't benefit my employees and doesn't benefit the company. And in addition to that, we started to work on actually expanding a little bit the Solflare protocol to see if there was a possibility to add additional use cases that were not covered. And that was not that did not go anywhere at the end. And what we ended up doing what I ended up doing was, listen, this is not going to work with Solflare because of some restrictions that they had, and I think that they were not thinking in terms of like how a business would actually use that solution. They were thinking more in terms of like an individual paying for a parking meter or something to that effect. And at that point, I knew that I wanted to do something that was kind of like an evolutionary step from what they had already done there, and that I knew I couldn't do it while I was at the other company, RealDAX. So I quit. I handed over the reins to the COO, and I took a little bit of time to plan for what we wanted to do. That was December last year. 3 months later, I had a pretty good idea of what we wanted to do with Moneystreams and how we wanted to go about the process. By May, I had already the team put together, and we started hacking away. And that's how MeanFi kind of came into existence. The genesis was really payroll, but the plan that like ensued from there was a much bigger vision and a much bigger plan than just the payroll. Payroll kind of becomes a specific case of what we're doing, really.
Definitely, and you also took it to the next level, which is the non-custodial side
Yep.
of things, which is extremely important. But was the build initially meant for Solana? Like you
Yes,
explored
absolutely.
Solana and you saw that
Yep.
that's where I can build it.
Yeah, yeah. In Solana, so at the time, I think that I don't know. This was like we can probably look at the charts and stuff, but Solana was still like very early. They had only done like the first hackathon that was happening, and they announced the Solana Summer Hackathon. I think that was the one that you guys won, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yep. So
you
that
were
was
talking
right
about
around that
February.
time, May. Yeah, February, March, something like that. So yeah, so at the time, like we had the two chains that we were evaluating were Solana and Avalanche, and we ended up settling on Solana for a number of reasons. Because so the first one is we are doing money streaming, and money streaming, like if you wanted to really feel like the money is indeed streaming, you need to have very high throughput through the network. Otherwise, you're not like that feeling of like the movie is actually money, money is actually moving through the blocks as if it is a money stream. Like that feeling is not going to be able to be kind of like accomplished. It will feel more like a slow drip rather than a stream. And Solana kind of fit that bill very, very, very well because of the transaction finality that we had, the block time, like everything kind of like clicked. And when we were testing things, the amount of tooling, believe it or not, even at that time, was a lot bigger already in Solana than what it was in Avalanche. And also Solana was using Rust, which was a big kind of a big incentive for us, because all 5 founders of the protocol come from a C-based background, and
Transition
so
would be much
yeah,
easier.
a lot easier for us, on coming onto Rust than coming basically trying to adopt a whole new language and stuff like that. So I think that all of those things kind of combine, and the fact that there was like all of this activity and growth and plans for multiple hackathons that they were doing. So like it seemed like the network was very well alive. So the decision was, let's try to do a POC on both and see what goes better. And we ended up, landing on Solana. And
Oh, so you actually did you built something on Avalanche to test it out. That's
yeah,
awesome.
for testing, you have to kind of measure the level of effort, because if you read like just documentation on stuff, like you really don't know like what is the long-term level of effort that you're gonna have to to do, right? So
yeah, and yeah, let's not kid ourselves. There was not much documentation in any of those chains back then.
But it was a lot. Like Ross had already been a very like. I mean, I respect for anybody that loves Solidity, but I fucking hate it. You know, like as the it's a kind of like a half-baked language, and like nobody that has like it's not even like Turing complete. It doesn't have like there's a lot of things that are that you're like scratch your head a little bit like how like what why and like, so even on it works for Ethereum and it works for all EVMs and it works for everybody else simply because there's so many people using it and they have first mover advantage. But Solidity is not a good programming language in my honest opinion. I just like it's kind of like a half thought out language. Why
Yeah,
they went with
I
that
mean,
is
I'm not a developer, but from the people that write code around me, it does. They do say that it feels old and outdated.
yeah. So
But let's go back to Mean Finance and the protocol you're developing. You already listed the current functionalities, which they're awesome. You are kind of catering to both an individual and a large or even small business. You also mentioned though that you're going to cater to you're going to offer services that an investment bank would offer. Want to tell me a little bit more about that?
it's a little bit early for those, but in our roadmap we have a 5-stage roadmap, and the way that our roadmap is laid out is that on the first stage, which is the one that has been running for the longest, all of our workflows and the things that we offer are catered to consumers. That is consumer retail banking users, people that use banks to store their assets, to transfer money for everyday usage, to be able to pay remittances, to be able to schedule transfers, or to like all kind of like all of the common things, and they need to feel at home when they land on MeanFi. The second stage of our roadmap, and by the way, we haven't finished with that, right? So like stages kind of like run in parallel on our roadmap. They get delivered sequentially, but there's certain overlap that happens in between them. And the second stage is all focused on investors, and those are mostly like retail investors and people that want to take their banking experience a little bit further ahead and make sure that the money that they have on their wallet and the money that they have deposited through our smart contracts, it's actually capital efficient, and that money can be deployed easily from within MeanFi. And for that, a lot of the partnerships that we have been working with, and a lot of the integrations that we have been putting together, are very much in line with this stage, which is the one that is kind of like we're in the middle of all of that right now. For example, Solrise, we have, they have their index fund manager, and what better way for someone to deploy capital than not have to think, how to prepare a correctly balanced pie chart of assets that they need to rebalance themselves manually. Instead, just give it to one of the fund managers on Solrise and they will manage it for you. And you have a properly balanced portfolio that somebody professionally is taking care of that, right? So like that is the same way that we use our assets in the normal, like traditional finance way. Nobody goes out unless you're a day trader and you're like buying a little bit of Microsoft stock and a little bit of like this stock and a little bit of that stock and a little bit of Apple stock, and then you create your chart and you go every day and you rebalance. Like nobody actually does that unless you're a professional trader. The vast majority of people simply know that they have a retirement account or that they have a particular savings account or a particular goal, and that goal gets deployed into a strategy, and that strategy is managed professionally by somebody else. That is, for example, like that conjunction that we're doing right now with Solrise. We're going to bring their index funds into MeanFi so that people can deploy their capital directly from there. If you think about what are we doing with port finance, anybody that is sending money streams back and forth. They can now essentially like take their money streaming and their payroll to like extreme capital efficiency and full liquidity, because while the money is streaming, you can actually be generating yield on that money by lending it out in a lending and borrowing platform like Port Finance, right? So
extreme capital efficiency, amazing.
Extreme capital efficiency, yeah, exactly. So like all of these things are about optimizing the money that you have and making sure that it's always working for you, whether you're asleep and whatnot, and that there's and that is the phase that we're in right now.
So this is you're describing phase 2. Is this phase 2?
Phase 2,
like,
yeah.
So phase it's the Hayek phase, which is running in parallel with jobs. So consumers and investors are you're developing those solutions now, and then you're gonna go to business institution, and last is the ecosystem.
Yeah, that is correct.
Super awesome. And consumers and like if you solidify that, then the business is not going to be much different. I mean, still payments and money streams in a different level.
No, for business, we actually have a lot of really cool stuff going on that is a little bit different.
Tell me, drop some alpha.
Yeah, so for business, so you know, we already kind of like even have already some business workflows available today in production. If you know, under services, we have something called treasuries and payroll, and though that is a very business-centric functionality, where you as a business, you know, say for example, you're a DAO or you know, or any DAO or any business in general, you have multiple treasuries that you want to be able to send payments out to your collaborators, to your contributors, to your guilds, to your whatever you want to do. From within the treasuries and payroll functionality of MeanFi, you can create unlimited treasuries and assign or deposit different amounts of capital to each one of those treasuries, and then configure multiple money streams that go out from that treasury into the contributors or into your employees or into, you know, whatever. Like a good way to set up payroll is, you know, if you're a company or if you're a protocol and you want to distribute payroll to your employees, simply go to the treasury and payroll, create a new treasury, add your employees, and each of them will have a different rate, whatever you negotiated with them. You know, Sammy will get $1,000 a month or 1,000 USDC per month, and then you know Lena will get, you know, I don't know, 10 Sol per week, and somebody else will get like whatever configuration you have with each one of your employees, and you set it once and forget it. You don't have to do any kind of proration. You don't have to do any kind of emission. So it's kind of like your own treasury emissions infrastructure that you're setting up in very UI friendly and automated way that anybody can manage. You don't have to code anything, right? So that's available today. This week we're gonna, you want some alpha? This week you're gonna have a full-on multi-sig manager.
Wow, okay, that's awesome.
That you can create as many multi-sigs with unlimited signatures, unlimited approvers, unlimited owners. So you can have like an entire like group of, like if you have, for example, for DAOs, this is a big deal, because if you have a group that is going to be the ultimate approvers of a particular treasury and the funding process on a treasury, like you might have a group that is like 10, 20 people, out of which you want at least 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 signatures required before any of that gets distributed. You can start now automating on-chain governance with our multi-sig manager, so that when you submit something for a vote, it automatically gets created as a transaction, and all you have to do is each one of those approvers go and click sign, 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 sign. As soon as everything gets signed, the transaction gets dispersed automatically, right? So all of that super visual, very easy to follow, very easy to understand. You don't have to be a coder to do a multi-sig basically now in Solana, and we're going to be pushing that out in the next couple of days. So yeah, there you go. There's some alpha.
Super awesome. Like you are moving really, really fast, and I'm navigating around the MeanFi app, and I see you also have a MeanFi Custody where you just need to apply. What's that all about?
That's for, so right now we're basically, that's for stage 4, but we're gathering a lot of interest right now. So if you're an institution, and you want, and we're only right now talking to institutions that have a certain amount of capital that they want to put in custody. And what we're right now, really, that's more of a research type of thing. Like we're not actually managing or putting in our custody anything from on behalf of anybody else, but we are working on a solution that does exactly that, and that we can act not as the custodial, but rather as the vault that any custodial service wants to use to manage somebody else's funds, right? So so we keep being the tool maker, but we allow now anybody to say, hey, you know, I am fund XYZ, and I want to handle investment strategies on behalf of somebody else. That somebody else might be an institution. They say, well, I have $10 million. I don't know how to deploy it. I don't know how to, I don't have time to do this. I'd rather pay somebody else dedicated. Like, it's not the out of the box index funds that you have on Solrise. This is like an individual, like, you know, point-to-point contract between an institution and a fund manager that wants to manage those funds with the strategy specifically of that institution. So they will use MeanFi to act as the brokering of that is basically helping that manager manage the funds on behalf of some larger institution, right? And that's what
Nice.
that's for.
And this is a service that MeanFi will be offering, which means is going to be charging also some
That's
fees.
correct. Yeah,
Wow, amazing, amazing things you're bringing to Solana in general in the crypto space, where Solana is just a more fertile place for those kind of applications to become successful, just because of the speed and low cost of transactions. Same goes with Grape. But I want to also now. I'd like to know more about your fundraising round, your tokenomics, on how the coin is going to be used. Because I read in your documentation that it's also going to govern the DAO, but it's also going to be giving some revenue to the token holders. So lots of questions on that. Let's start with the fundraising. Like, when did this start? When did you start the whole process? Who did you manage to onboard? And how much did you raise? Of course, feel free to just tell me. I don't want to answer any of those questions. This is totally fine.
Like, listen, one thing that you will never get from me is obscurity. I'm a pretty transparent and open guy, and in general, that's the kind of culture that I've tried to push on the DAO overall. So yeah, we're fairly we're really open in general. It's not a whole lot of secrecy here. So the efforts to fundraise, actually, like we didn't even know that we were fundraising. Like, people started to reach out to us. It's like, hey, do you want some money? And I was like, maybe we're not ready yet. This was probably like beginning of November, or no, like somewhere midway through October. So mind you, like, we launched on mainnet beta on September 17th, right? And you know, we went from basically 20-something people that we had on alpha and testing, and basically the 5 of us plus our extended network of people that were doing some beta testing there, or some alpha testing. We went from that to like 1,000 users overnight, and we're like, wait, time out. Like, maybe we're doing something right here. And people really started to flock over, like, the message of, you know, we're doing the simpler version of DeFi on MeanFi. Like, we're doing everyday banking workflows. There's no, this is like the uncomplicated DeFi application. Like, really resonated with people. And right now, I just looking at the numbers, and we have right now. Let me see here. I'll tell you, we have over 87,000 users, which is freaking insane.
This is, so you mean these are unique addresses that? That's amazing.
We have
amazing.
86,760 unique addresses 4,669 daily active with at least one transaction, and $1.8 billion in transaction volume in the last 60 days.
Wow,
That's
bullish numbers,
this
man.
morning.
Amazing.
So yeah, things have really resonated, and I think that when you combine the message with the fact that our tokenomics are very community driven and very community centric. 70% of our token allocation is for community. And so when you combine that with the fact that we are doing with the fact that we have like really amazing investors, like basically a month after we launched, we already were in the couple of thousands of users that had been using the application, and it caught wind of some investors. I think that the first ones that reached out to us were Solar Eco Fund, and from there it was kind of like a flood of investors, coming onto us. I remember talking to Dean at some point, asking for advice. He's like, man, I really don't know how to handle this thing, because like people are kind of like taking, like, they're writing offers on Telegram. Like they're saying like, hey, can we allocate like $2 million? And like, I don't even know how to answer that. Like, what? Yes, I guess.
Yeah. It's insane. I know exactly what you mean, but you managed to gather some really
So we
quality
ended
partners.
up, we ended up going with a really kick-ass group of investors. We have 3 Arrows Capital, we have SoftBank, we have Defiance, we have Skyvision, we have Cestirs. They are the largest mining operations in Europe. We have Solar Eco Fund. Yeah, so like, Big Brain Holdings, like, very, very good, like rockstar investment team that we got. So yeah, really happy on that.
Who's the lead? The three AC.
3AC and 3AC, SoftBank and Defiance split the lead there. They took most of the round.
Like we know all these names. Even we know Big Brain Holdings, we know 3AC, we know Defiance Capital, but SoftBank, we know SoftBank as a bank.
Yeah. SoftBank was an interesting one. SoftBank is one of the largest investment banks in the world. They, for example, they, along with Tiger, so Tiger and SoftBank are probably the two largest investment funds in the world right now. If you look at the investments of SoftBank, they basically own pretty much all of WeWork. They have deep roots into big tech, and they invest in everything from pharma. I don't know. I'll have to actually look some of the big investments
They're
they
like
have.
a huge
Huge.
institution.
Yeah.
Is do they have any other exposure to Solana projects? Because I've
No,
been following
we are the
Solana
first.
quite a
Yeah.
lot, and I've
Yeah, we are the
I've seen
first.
all these names 100,000
Yeah.
times. But SoftBank is a really big name that stands
It is a
out,
really
and
big
I've never
name.
seen that before.
Yeah. We are their first foray into Solana. And it was kind of funny because like they had so many questions about about the whole process of why Solana at the beginning. That was a big part of the discovery and the due diligence, and but they are aggressively opening up their fund into the crypto space right now, and they have the way that you have to understand that this is not only like one fund. They have like 3 major like focus groups. There's one that is called the Opportunity Fund, which is kind of like their early stage fund. Then there's the middle one that is the growth stage, and then there's the Vision Fund, which is like for really large check sizes. I'm talking like $100 million plus check sizes on the Vision Fund. And we're in the lower end, of course, on that
Yeah,
one.
I was
Like
like,
we're
did you manage to strike such a
yeah. But that's good, because that means that we are on their ramp up, right? So like, it's natural for their portfolio companies to be able to move from one fund to the other and to the other, and kind of progress into the entire capital structuring game, right? So Yeah, very, very happy. In general, one of the good things about having SoftBank as well is, for us, it is the perfect story because you have one of the leading investors and funds on crypto with Three Arrows and Defiance, and those two guys, those two are phenomenally well connected. We appreciate all of the insight and input and feedback that we get from them. We actually meet every single week with their team. And on the SoftBank side, you have very deep government connections, very deep traditional finance, traditional banking connection, and they have a big ass presence in Miami, which is where I'm based on. So I have access to all of their team right here, like in the flesh. And likewise, similar to what we do with Defiance and 3AC, having them basically have a sit on the board and give us guidance on, hey, let's make sure that you're plugged over here, that you're plugged over there, and like let's work with you on what is the strategy and how to move. It's phenomenal. It's very eye opening, even how different the two worlds are, but they're both incredibly insightful on their own accords, right?
Yes, and the synergies, like you're building a non-custodial Web3 digital bank in a way, and then you have 3AC and SoftBank like helping you in so many levels, from traditional finance connected to markets, to banks, to like to crypto through like through 3AC. Like it's amazing. The synergies are endless.
Yep. We're very happy for that, for sure.
And the raise was 3.5 million, right?
That's correct.
Beautiful. And this on your tokenomics, if I'm not mistaken, that's how much? It's 20%, right?
That is no, on the tokenomics. So I guess you're trying to get me to share the valuation of that, and
Yes,
that's fine.
yes,
Okay,
yes, that would be lovely. Thank you.
you're a sneaky guy.
I'm slowly just inputting the cells on Excel just to and that yeah.
Sneaky question. Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on from there.
Can you tell us a little bit about the timeline of what are we going to see? Like you're live, you're done with your raise, partners have been announced, the coin is dropping, which I want you to give me a small summary on what's happening on that side, and what else should we see from like what else are you planning in the near future?
So right now, I think that like all the focus right now is really around the IDO, and I don't want to like lose track of that because like it is, because we are a community first DAO, and we are very focused on making sure that value is distributed across the community and in as many people as possible. The IDO is kind of like right now our almost center focus on everything we're doing. We just had to delay the IDO. It was meant to happen tomorrow. We're actually doing like something a little bit special because we're doing a three-way launch on our IDO. So we're launching at the same time on Selenium. So we did a launch pad there. Then we're doing a mean launch or mean style launch on our own portal, and then we're doing an IEO on Gate. So it's kind of like a three-prong approach. And again, if you think about like the why are we getting so complicated, it's not really a complication if what you're trying to do is get the tokens in as many hands as possible, because that is what a community-driven project would want to do. Like you don't want only a handful of investors to end up with $40 million worth of your tokens that are going to take a big hammer and push the voting of your DAO in one direction that the rest of the community might not benefit from, right? So
so let me understand the timeline a little bit. So we're saying 18th and 19th of December it's the Solanium lottery sale.
Is the yeah, so
then
on
Then it's the week after, yeah, the following week is the IDO event.
That's correct.
On Mean, and then we have the Solarium sale.
Yeah. There's a little bit of like I think there's because we you discover a typo there. No, so on this weekend we had before, essentially we had to move all of the announcement 1 week forward.
Is this because Solana is misbehaving, the network?
Yeah. In part, I don't think it is a misbehavior. It is like, so even right now with a lot of network congestion and all of the things that all of the slowdowns that we've experienced, Solana is. I think there was a tweet by Anatoly, today or yesterday, that it was like, yeah, still at the rate that we are pushing through, Solana is pushing more transactions than all other EVMs combined. However, that still is not what Solana as the network, like Solana is going through some growing pains right now, right? And it causes some of the transactions to fail, and it causes some of the depending on when you are trying to run some transactions, if there is another IDO, especially happening on some of the AMMs. I'm not going to mention any names. I really don't want to create any kind of like thought unnecessarily, but there's some stress that the teams are working through, and the same way that we went through the previous slowdown of the network like a month ago. I think we're going to come through this just fine, and the reason for delaying everything is kind of like twofold. On the one side, we don't want the community to feel like, oh, I didn't get on time, or my transaction was dropped, and this was not the right time, because it's not kind of fair. It's not like the level playing field for everybody that wants to participate is not the same, depending on your connectivity, depending on how the network is doing at that specific time that you were able to sit down in front of the computer and join the IDO. So instead of, like, community protection is a big part. The second part is, we already have, like, on Selenium alone, which is only one of the 3 areas, we have over 120,000 people that sign up on the whitelisting. That's a huge number of people that are interested in participating in the project. And when we open up on the IDO, we're expecting, like on the portal, we're expecting the same or somewhat similar level of interest. If you add on top of that there's a little bit of like a gold rush.
What style is the IDO going to be? What kind of sale are we going to see? What a mango style auction? This.
Yeah, no. So short answer is no. It's like I hope that you and everybody else on Grape start getting familiar with something called Mean style launch. And Mean style launch is a little bit different. And basically, what we're doing is we're taking the best parts of a launchpad, the best parts of a Mango style fair auction, and the best parts of an LBP, and kind of like throwing out the parts that we don't like. We actually did quite a in-depth analysis on our site and the idea is to maximize transparency, maximize price discovery, maximize fair participation and fair distribution of the token, and do it in a way that is healthy for the token itself and for the project, so that the token has room to continue to grow. So instead of going through like one of those crazy valuations of $1 billion that most other projects have been doing, we're capping our valuation at launch. So that means that like there's only so high that you can go up, and the idea with that is yes, that also prevents unlimited participation, but whomever participates and becomes part of becomes a token holder, like immediately after IDO, when we open up liquidity, the potential of the token to grow is substantially higher than any of the other projects that did an unlimited cap or any of the other projects that are very capped but with very limited participation on Launchpad, or any project that did an LBP alone and they didn't have the benefits of distribution that we have. So it's kind of like a combination of things. I urge everybody to kind of like go online and read about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna share the Medium article that you describe everything. It has all the details, and you also compare the model with all the other models of the uncapped sales, and
Yeah.
it makes sense. It's very well thought.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So right after you do the IDO the IEO on Gate, which is right after your IDO, then I assume we're gonna see the token trading, or we're gonna see it
That is
earlier
correct.
on decentralized exchanges.
No, yeah, it's gonna be right after the IEO. So like the idea, and we actually have like times set up in there. So like what and what we're trying to avoid is kind of opening up too much to arbitraging opportunities that will kind of debalance the access to the community. A lot of the times, what happens when you only launch on a permissionless pool is that everybody rushes to that pool to trade on like the first 5 minutes, and that causes a huge backlog. And a lot of the people that are trading the token, a lot of the time simply just cannot put their orders through, and you have to wait and wait and wait and wait until all of the permissionless pool kind of like gets flush out. But then after 1 hour, you might have missed kind of like the initial rush that comes into the market. We're mitigating that in two ways. The first one is that our tokens are not fully vested. Even if you participate in the IDO, like they're not 100% unlocked. You're gonna get the tokens. So if anybody participates in the IDO, they get 20% of their participation right away, and then the other 80% gets distributed on a Moneystream, which is one of our core-based tech. Over the period of 12 months. So that guarantees two things. The first one is there's not going to be a whole lot of tokens in circulation right away. And the second thing that it guarantees is it guarantees that those people that really wanted to invest in us are investing in us because of the right reasons, because they don't have other option but to become our users. Because they're using Moneystreams. So if they want to get what they invested on, they have to use MeanFi. So it's a lot of alignment there to make sure that people that are just here for the airdrops, or people that are just here for the pump and dump, like, you're not welcome. Fuck off. Go somewhere else. Like, I don't
Yeah,
want you.
and
Right?
you're
So
also setting a great example for other projects to follow, and you're supplying them with the tools to do that.
yep, that's exactly right. So
Pretty
yeah,
awesome. No, it's lovely that everything is locked. It's lovely that the private round and the team and advisors don't have anything unlocked at the IDO date, while everybody else has a small portion unlocked. I think again, very well thought, different from most projects out there.
Thanks.
Now let's talk a little bit about the token, and
Yep.
tell us a little bit about how the DAO is going to be governed by the token, and what kind of functionalities do you expect the DAO to govern when it comes to smart contracts and protocol changes. And then let's talk a little bit about how profits are distributed to the token holders, and how this works, and how you manage to do that. But yeah, tell us a little bit about the DAO.
Yep.
What does it govern? What's the plan there?
Yeah. So the plan for the governance on the DAO is on-chain governance will go live on January, and even right now we are a pretty well functioning DAO. We have a merit and reputation system inside of MeanDAO that is based on levels and skills. So and the plan when putting that on chain is that our voting structure is based on two elements. One is called mean power, and mean power will give you essentially it's a metric that that will determine how much voting power each individual has, or each account has. And voting power is divided in 30% merit and reputation, 70% token allocation and token usage that you have. So it's kind of like a 70-30 split there. So not
And
necessarily
this is
like
something that you developed. Like this is a
yep.
mean team made this.
Yes.
Wow, amazing, amazing. And voting
We're,
again on chain.
we did not sit. Yeah, we did not sit on a toilet and like came up with that idea from zero. There's a lot of like inspiration from Bankless DAO, from MakerDAO, from like some of the other DAOs that we're following, from actually from you guys. Like at the beginning, like the first iteration that we did on our merit and reputation system looked a lot like monkey grades, like ape and great ape. So like, and I was like,
It was very popular back then.
and because we have a lot of your members also in the MeanDAO server, and everybody was like, oh, like why don't we do this? And it's like, well, this is looking a lot like Grape, maybe not. So like we changed our naming and stuff like that to make it a little bit more like legit, and not necessarily like, okay, look, what Grape is doing is great, like let's try to just copycat it, but rather we use you guys as an influence for the design of the merit and reputation system that we have. And just like that, we gather a lot of different thoughts and a lot of different ideas from different DAOs. Chi DAO has also been like a great influence. I'm a member of that DAO. I'm a big Chi holder. And I've seen the things that work well there and the things that don't work well. So I'm like, this is also like a collective experience of other people bringing their ideas on how other DAOs and other organizations are working well, and kind of like bringing them here and creating our own little mean Frankenstein.
Yeah, I was mostly going towards the have you thought about integrating maybe with the Solana governance program that Solana Labs is actually.
Yeah, so it's all the governance program. It only dictates how the governance actually made, but not the rules around the governance, right? So the governance it's the same as the SPL token program, where you don't like you use the SPL token program to do your transfers and to do the creation of a new SPL token and things like that, but not like they are not your token, right? So the SPL token program is a program, and your token is a
Yeah. No, I
different
was talking
account,
about
right?
the governance program, the one that the Sebastian Bohr is creating, the one Mango is actually developing,
Yeah,
the
but
one that.
that's a good example, right? So they use the Solana governance program, but all the rules of Mango are not like the rules of the Mango DAO are their rules. They're not
Yeah, they of
generic
course
rules, right?
they
So like,
set
yeah,
the
they set the
I'm
rules.
gonna, they
Exactly.
set the rules
So with us is
100%.
going to be the same. We're not going to be creating a governance program from scratch. There's one that already works and is pretty good.
So that's even better. That's amazing. So you're also going to work with the Solana governance program, the one that.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Again, very good.
It's just the rules that are ours, not necessarily the implementation of those rules, right? The implementation, of course, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. Why would we want to do that?
Yeah, I totally align on this on this idea of we should all work together and we don't need to every time we can use each other's products and
Yep.
build new things and not overlap.
Yep.
So, what do you expect the DAO to govern exactly? What kind of changes? Can you give me like an example of how
Yeah.
powerful the DAO would be?
Well, starting with the fact that 70% of all of our money movement is treasury managed by the DAO. We anticipate to have a fairly large treasury already in the community treasury. So, for example, things like treasury revenue allocations and distributions are part of what the DAO is going to be managing. Protocol and app fees, entry, exit, repayments, deposits, all of those kinds of things. Like there's a lot of conversations around making Moneystreams a ecosystem utility. And that means that like we would have to either substantially lower the fees or making them zero. And nobody wants to work for free, but there's got to be a plan around that. Right, so like all of those things are going to be voted through through the DAO. Price oracle changes, where, like, which pricing oracle are we using right now? We're using Chainlink, but we're going to be probably bringing Pith as well here. What are the risk parameters, like liquidity ratio, debt value, all of those things, especially around all of the investment products. All of those things need to be voted through the DAO. The incentivized rewards that we're participating. So every time that we want to either join a farming pool or we want to do essentially incentives on protocol owned liquidity, so that like people actually sell us their liquidity, Olympus style. Like all of those things are votes that are going to go through the DAO. Upgrades to the foundational protocols, like, I don't know, supporting a new blockchain or a pool
So the
or
DAO will actually command even the technical, your technical team and
100%.
your. Wow.
Yep.
Okay. That's
So the DAO,
pretty
so a
cool.
lot of the decisions. So I just want to make a distinction, right? So there's a difference between doing the implementation and making the decisions about what needs to be implemented. The DAO takes care of the latter. The core team takes care of the former, right? So like the core team actually implements it, but we are essentially like
But the DAO
employees of
can
the
sit
DAO.
can sit there and say, okay, I want you to build a spaceship and go to the moon. You know
Yep.
what you gonna do?
100%. Yep. 100%.
That's pretty cool. The fact that plutocracy is not something that you've already taken care of, which was partly part of my questions for anybody that is creating a DAO. If how the weights are going to be, you already answered that. Which once again, well thought, well thought.
Thank you.
And we have also the other side, which is the protocol distributing fees.
Yep.
How do you get that to the token holders?
So it is, and I see that I have a couple of people here that are working with us on the DAO on some of these things. Hello, Chris, and yeah. So I see a couple of familiar faces here in the audience, but the short of it is that in the like we have a closed loop redistribution system for basically all of the revenues that are generated from the DAO. We have multiple revenue streams that come mostly from the interactions that other protocols or our users have with our smart contracts and our programs, and we collect some fees from that. And most of those fees are distributed either directly onto the operating treasury that funds the development and the continued development of the products that we do, and that's part of the DAO funding. And then like a big chunk of those revenues get allocated in between the community treasury, the incentive programs, and the repurchase program. So in a way, what we're doing is anything that we receive as revenue gets ultimately used to support Mean as a token in way of you distribute to the stakers that have locked their Mean for longer periods of time. So there's a big chunk that goes to that. Another big chunk that goes into
It goes into the form of Mean tokens, meaning the protocol is going to go and buy tokens from the open market and
That's correct.
And give it as staking rewards to the single staking pool, which is also it locks your tokens.
Yep, that is correct. Yep, you got all of that pretty much spot on. And
this is
part of that,
how you start. This is going to start from the beginning. This is not something that the DAO needs to approve or vote.
no, that's the way that it starts. If the DAO wants to change it, and those balances, we can collectively vote on that. And if we think, for example, that it doesn't make any sense to allocate 30% of all the revenue to the community treasury to fund the promotion of partnerships and other Web3 applications and protocols integrating into our tech, then like they might change that to, like, I don't know, 25% or 60% or something else, right? But they'll be competing with essentially, like, at this point, themselves, because the other 50%, for example, from the main repurchase program goes into the staking rewards, which is basically for the people that are staking, which in turn are the ones that are voting, which in turn they don't want, it's kind of like a vicious cycle that everybody's incentivized to do the right thing for themselves and the protocol, right? So like this was carefully designed, like around this this kind of structure.
No, it's beautiful. My thoughts are always, just because we usually see a token, it launches as a governance token in order to avoid accusing the person who minted the coin that they are distributing unregistered securities, since they receive profit without them doing anything. So usually you see this is the usual setup: governance token that then votes itself to be revenue sharing. So my question is, how did you manage to start it? Like, did you have some amazing lawyer? Did you incorporate it in some special place? Like, how does that work? Again, because I'm asking these kind of questions,
Sure.
I am totally okay if you tell me, hey man, I can't answer that. My lawyers
No,
are gonna call me
I think those are fair
and be
questions.
mad
So
at me. So
not a problem. So I think they're all fair questions. So let me address them, like, one by one. The first piece is that the staking contract, and therefore everything that is utilitarian about the Mean token, is going to be offered by us on January, not right after the token is launched. So this is merely a plan, not the actual thing. The only utilitarian value that people are going to be able to benefit from, meaning not governance, make additional money on this, is not going to be offered by us. Is going to be offered by the farming rewards that are basically by other applications, namely, those who are going to be offering the farms that are going to be able to grow their investment and pay out whatever 200% APY.
I see.
Which
You're
is on
just
tokens
going
that
to be
already have value, right?
depositing. You're going to be depositing the earnings to an address, and then that address
That's
is
right.
going to be using them as liquidity incentives to the vested stakers, let's say.
That's right. But it's not going to be offered by us. It's going to be offered by whomever is running that particular farm, right? So like it's a small but tactical decision that buys us enough time to both not be seen as we offering a security, which we are not, and at the same time us not running any of the like trading activity or incentivized activity directly on our platform, because we are not the ones incentivizing that, right? So those will be the Orcas and the Radiums of the world.
No, I love it. I think yeah, that's totally doable. Totally doable. I have a couple of more questions. I know we've already extended the time that we usually do AMAs. I told you I have a lot of questions, and then I've gathered a couple of questions from the audience. I wanna start with my question, which is a little bit on the governance side of things. Like, I want to understand the power that a user is going to have in the Mean DAO. Let's say that I'm a fairly big whale, hold a lot of tokens, and I also have quite good score on my participation. Can I make a proposal and people can vote on me?
Yep.
Is there a council that approves proposals, like how would you mitigate some a malicious actor just coming in and creating a proposal for a very short time, and like would you is there anything to stop these actions?
Yeah. So the short answer is no, but so meaning anybody will be able to put even malicious proposals, for example. But we do have the plan to implement a cool-off period, meaning like you have to wait after you submit any proposal, whether it's malicious or a good one or a good well-intended one, to let enough time for the community to react and understand what's happening, to avoid basically front running voting decisions and just submitting it. And because you're already a large back holder, you'll be able to basically vote yourself in automatically without anybody being able to give feedback on that. So avoid that. There's that part. The second piece is that, especially at launch, and because we are doing a vested distribution of tokens, it is very unlikely that you're going to have a large enough backholder to be able to do that. One of the things that we're also doing in the IDO is that we have a maximum contribution bonding curve that decreases over time, and the maximum that people will be able to buy is I'm not gonna jinx it right now, but there's gonna be a maximum that it cannot happen what happened to Solana, that they had basically like $140 million investment that was taking like 95% of the allocation, right? So that's not going to happen in our IDO.
Yeah,
because
that was such a weird situation, which in the end was someone pulled it out last minute.
It pulled it out, yeah. But they actually had 80 million at some point, like two $40 million transactions. Like ridiculous. Like that would be the end of any DAO. If you have basically that much allocation into a single address, basically they own you, or any decision that you can do. So for us, part of the design that we're going through in the IDO is that we're going to have a cap of how much can each individual contribute, and we're going to have cyber attack protection, and we're going to have IP blocking protection, and we're going to have a couple of things that will prevent people from essentially trying to bot themselves into buying multiple little bags to accumulate under a single address, right? So when you sum up the fact that you have a limit into how much you can buy, and that we have a vesting schedule that is tie up to the address that bought it, you're not going to have any one address that is going to be able to vote themselves into the oblivion of MeanFi, right? So that's it's a lot of protection on that side. On the other side, we have the support of our largest backholders, which are our investors. The SoftBanks of the world,
they will participate. They've hinted that they will participate in your governance.
100%.
Your investors.
100%.
Super bullish. Amazing.
Yep.
And have you already minted their tokens, and do they, despite being vested, do they count as voting power?
They do count. Absolutely. We have two ways of doing. If you go today, you can actually check them out yourself. Like on the treasury, you can create two types of treasuries. One type of treasury is called an open treasury. That means that there's no guarantee, like the tokens are not yours. You're simply streaming money from one person to another for as long as the contract is not violated. And that works well, for example, if you have employees. So long that you continue to be employed, you perform your duties well, I will pay you whatever we agreed on. And that's what is called an open money stream. There's no commitment or preset allocation. And then you have a locked money stream, and that is when you have investors and you're basically making a promise to them that, hey, they already bought into you, right? And like everybody that participates in the IDO is going to basically get a locked money stream. And that means that we have set aside the tokens to you. Those are your tokens. You already pay for them. You're just going to get them little by little. And if you have a locked allocation, 100% of the tokens that you have there work on your favor at the time of voting.
All right, that's pretty amazing. And so you're combining a service that you are offering together with the Solana governance program, and you solve a lot of problems there. Is this
Yep.
something that other projects can come and use that you are actually offering
I'm
now?
so glad that you asked for that, and the answer is yes, yes, yes. And we have some pretty big announcements also coming in Q1. And I'm gonna say it's probably towards the end of January, beginning of February at this point, the way that things are looking. But yes, 100% that is going to be tooling available for any other protocol and any other application that wants to leverage all of that. Yep, 100%.
Amazing, amazing. I will personally look into it because yeah, we like that. That's something that we need to explore. Amazing.
Yep, cool. Glad you liked it.
Another question I see here is from a user that seems to have a problem that sent a money stream to an exchange. Anything to tell
Oh yeah.
him?
Yep, that happens. Unfortunately, like I have to say that people, this is DeFi, and for all the lovable things that we have in DeFi and why we love it, that we are in control. With big power comes big responsibility, right? And this is I'm like quite literally, this has happened actually quite a few times, and so much so that we ended up adding a little blocker so that people cannot approve their transactions when sending a money stream unless they click a checkbox. You can actually see it in the app that says, I know for a fact that this address does not belong to an exchange. And people click it after putting an address on an exchange and click approve. So, like, I mean, yeah, you have to read the shit that you're clicking. I don't know what else to do. We're gonna probably make it a little bit more like prominent and stuff like that, but there's no amount of work that, and this happens for every protocol. If you decide to send your LP tokens to an exchange, good luck.
Yeah.
You're getting
It's
that
over.
out.
It's over. Yeah, it's what happens with self custody. It's that's. And yeah,
So
there is once, guys, because I see there's a discussion happening at the moment on one of the chats, and it's guys, once it's written in the blockchain, like what you gonna do? Erase it? You can't take it back. That's the issue. There's no recovery button ever going to appear in anything that is written in a block. It would it would mean we're doing rollbacks there.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, but I'm sorry. Like we have had the largest mistake that someone made on our application was a 130 sol mistake, which is like a pretty big fucking mistake.
Wow, it hurts even
Um,
to
that
think
hurts.
about it.
But you mean see, if you're making that large of a transaction and you don't read, like seriously, maybe you should not be in this business. I don't know. You know.
Yeah. Of course, but I mean, uh, it's it's hard to educate. Like in order for someone to really learn these security measures and how to be super responsible with their keys and their security, I mean, it's the only way to learn is to get burned.
Yeah, I mean,
Unfortunately.
if you go, if you try to make a transaction right now, pretty much any transaction, we ended up putting that checkbox blocker everywhere to avoid these kind of things, and people still they're like, oh, yep. They click. There's a checkbox. The button of approving in your wallet will not even light up if that thing is not checked. Well, people go check it and say approve, and like off we go. It's like, dude, come on, like.
True. I have one more question from the audience, and then I have one last question which I've been keeping.
All right.
Can you give us a quick TLDR of how the airdrop works and when people will have access to the coins, and can they be in two communities? Can they overlap? What's the deal here? Like depending on the size of the community, they will get coins. Like, should they be in Grape or should they be in Synthetify, which is a smaller community, for example?
Yep. All right. So so there are kind of like everybody. So we have right now. We have right now 5 partner protocols. You guys are part of that. Each of you have somewhat different rules to, like, who are the eligible people from each side to get on the airdrop, and that usually has to do with what is the relationship that that person has with the protocol, right? So that token holder has with the protocol. In your case, I think it's like class A only, right? Correct me here if I Chris?
Yes. We
Yeah,
have class A only, and then we have chances for class B and class
there you go.
C. Depending on,
Exactly.
like, class B has a slightly more increased chances than class C.
Then, right. So the way that and for every protocol is a little bit different. For Selenium, they have basically levels 4 and 5, and for Synthetify, they have whatever, some different rules. All right. But the bottom of it all is that each protocol kind of whitelist on their own, basically what are the addresses that they qualify. That is usually a number that is a little bit bigger than what the final beneficiaries are going to be, and then those lists are sent to you guys. So all of those users need to validate themselves against Grape access, and then the final list of, essentially, there's a cleanup that happens to avoid duplicate accounts, to
Overlapping and
avoid, yeah,
duplicate submissions. Yes.
yeah, all of those things, yeah, are going to be basically cleaned up by you guys, and then you guys give us basically the final cleaned up list for each one of the 4 or the 5 protocols, and then on the day that the IDO distribution the IDO distribution starts, or basically on which right now is scheduled to the 29th. So on the 29th, basically on the portal, you're going to have on the same IDO portal, you're going to have basically 2 ways to claim stuff. Way number 1, you participating in the IDO with some contributions, and you're going to be able to essentially get your 20% and start off immediately your Moneystream from there. So you have to go there, click on a button, and you start your Moneystream from there. That is if you're participating in the IDO. If you are eligible to the airdrop, you can go to the portal, and there's going to be a little tab that's going to say, airdrop, and it's going to tell you what your eligibility was. And whatever that number is, you might end up with, 1,000 tokens, 500 tokens, whatever the number is that you end up being qualified after all of the whitelisting and cleansing and deduping and all of those things that we went through. You can simply click on that button as well and say claim, and you will claim 10% of those tokens immediately. They will get deposited into your wallet, and then the other 90% will initiate a money stream that will basically be running to you. So every day on every block, actually, you get a little bit of the mean tokens for I think it's 24 months, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look, but yeah, I think it's 24 months. Yep, and that's
Yes,
it.
it is 24 months indeed. Awesome. That's really cool. That once again, we'll be using the Moneystream, and we'll see. So we'll have this continuous timer, like digits going up, which is going to be the balance of the airdrop being accumulated on every block, the small payment.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Thank you so much for including the Grape community. We have so many supporters, and then we've leaked the alpha that there are going to be some incentives given back to the people who use the platform, and even the AMM. I hope that people have been following my advice to, if you're gonna do a swap, just do it on Mean.
Right on. And I don't know if you guys know, but you probably do. But last week we announced that we're going to be bringing also Jupiter.
I saw that.
The platform. Yeah, and
it's gonna help a lot. Like, Jupiter is doing an amazing job on
it's
aggregating
phenomenal.
all
They're
the
great.
AMMs with all this information. Because I had some problems on the Mean AMM early on, like couldn't find many pairs, but with that integration, it's going to fly out.
It's going to make it a lot more. Just the speed at which the Jupiter guys are developing is a lot because they're solely concentrated on the liquidity aggregation piece. So I think it's a phenomenal integration. So that's going to bring a lot of value for anybody that wants to basically swap anything to anything. Because right now we've been kind of on the slow side, adding tokens little by little because we have to add routes and we have to add those things. So it's a little bit slower for us. But now basically this is kind of like every time that they add a new route or that they add a new token, like all the Mean community automatically benefits from that.
Yeah, because you have access to that route, so it's
Yep.
amazing. Yeah, like you picked the best partner to actually integrate with because these guys are offering the best experience in terms of AMM aggregators.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another. Here's some additional alpha. So Solflare, the wallet, like if you want to see your money streams, that's the best wallet that you'll be able to do that on, because you wouldn't even have to. You don't even need to come to MeanFi to see how much money is accumulated on your money streams. If you're participating in the IDO or you're getting some airdrop, and you have Solrise, the minute that you open your Solrise wallet, money streams are going to be shown on the top as a first-class citizen on the wallet automatically for you.
Nice on the Solflare, Solrise,
Solflare.
Solana Beach, it's all the same. Lovely
Yeah, all the
people.
same. Yeah, exactly.
So you're gonna be able to just import that key to your wallet and then you'll be able to see the money stream.
Yep. If you don't, so if you're using Solflare, or you can just use a same mnemonic that you use in any other wallet. If you use it on Solflare and you start using the Solflare wallet, you don't have to import anything else. Automatically, that address, your address, will get associated with the money streams, and you'll be able to see your money streams right there. If you start receiving like payroll money stream, it's going to show up there. If your airdrop money stream is going to show up there. Your money stream from your IDO contribution is going to show up there. It's like all the money streams that are sent and received from you and to anybody, or from anybody to you, all of them are going to automatically show up in your Solflare wallet.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Really, it feels like something that you would have discussed in Lisbon with that amazing team.
That's right. Yeah.
And I've already prolonged this. Like we're talking for so long. It's I love it.
Yeah.
I have one last question, and it's regarding those guys that you told me a story about back in Lisbon. That they participated in a hackathon. Are we allowed to talk about those guys? What happened to that incident with the code incident?
Yeah. So there has been from day zero, we have been an open source project, and that comes with a lot of benefits and a lot of negative side effects as well. The same thing happened to Uniswap when they first released Uniswap v1. They released it open source, and then everybody started to clone Uniswap v1 and started to make like pretty much all of the other AMMs out in Ethereum right now were somehow a fork that was that happened from Uniswap v1. And even though it looks like that's great for the community and great for the ecosystem and whatnot, it also opens up the door for essentially a very low barrier to entry to
I lost you, Michelle. I don't know. I don't know where you went, but can't hear you. I just received confirmation from the audience that you can hear me well and everything is working. We were closing at the end, like we were on the last questions, the very last question about a project that stole their code and actually took it to a Solana hackathon. It's such an interesting story. I'm not sure how much we can talk about that. We've also gone way over our time. But Michel is an awesome guy. I met him in Lisbon. We vibed well. I was impressed by what they're building, and here we are. Let's see. Most probably he realized that we can't hear him. Here you go. I invited you back on stage. And you need to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Yay! Here you are. We'll edit that part out, so it's not an issue. So yeah, we were actually closing with that last cheeky question about the stolen code taken to a hackathon.
Yeah. So yeah, we had an unfortunate kind of episode there where not only did they take stolen code, but they quite literally copied and pasted like a good chunk of our documentation and submitted to a hackathon. They were reported and they were kicked out of the hackathon. But out of that project that was kicked out, another project was born, and unfortunately, that project kind of like has continue to grow some legs and stuff, but listen, they say copying is the highest form of flattery, and I don't see it like that when you're talking about intellectual property necessarily, because it does affect everybody that is involved. But in all due process, legal action will ensue on top of them, and we will rein in with the hammer of Thor, for sure.
Wow, yeah, I love that because it was not the answer I was expecting. So yeah, looking forward to that. Definitely, I'm going to be watching. Yeah, don't mess with mean DAO. I mean,
yeah, we'll get pretty fucking mean with you if you mess with us.
Dude, amazing things you told us today. Dropped a lot of alpha. So many things are happening in the next 2 weeks. Product is already live. Everything works. Looking forward on exploring it more and actually using it for myself and for our community here.
Right on.
I really love the fact that you are going on chain with the Solana governance program. I love the fact that you've already made partnerships with many important projects in the space, and your investment partners are just AAA.
Yeah. Amazing. Hey, thank you very much for having me here. I always love to share with the Grape community, and you guys have been amazing partners for us as well. And we are eternally thankful for all the insight and alpha and everything that you've helped us with. So very, very grateful on behalf of myself and the entire MeanDAO community.
Very honored to have you here again. Thank you for your patience. It took us this is over almost 2 hours we've been talking here, less but close to that. I'm very, very, very happy and honored to have you again. Thank you, Michel, and we'll stay in contact, and hopefully you're gonna visit again to tell us all the new things you're planning after the IDO finishes and the product is feature rich.
My pleasure. Alrighty. Let's fucking
Okay,
go.
guys, thank you so much.
Nice.
Over 200 people were watching us. Over 200
Nice.
people on the live. We'll also produce the edited version. I'm gonna share it. Thank you to all the Grape and non-Grape members, to the Mean community, and everybody watching and listening. I appreciate you all. I'll see you on the 16th with an AMA with Goose FX. Till then, stay liquid, stay safe, don't get shaken out, and do your research. Love you all. Good night. Thanks again, Michel.
Bye.
Lovely people. Be careful out there. Be careful out there. Market is shit. Told you that the market move of pump in December was too easy. Just be careful. Just be careful. On that note, take care.